Hi everyone, it's Ray with the education team from Swirlydoos Kit Club, and today I'm going to share with you how to use these Mod Podge melts. They're Mod melts is what they're called, and basically what they are these resin sticks that you put inside of a mini glue gun, a hot glue gun, and it turns into resin. You fill up these molds and you get these beautiful little flowers and other little things like keys, and there's a bee. These are the two molds that you get, so you can make a lot of different shapes. So as I was practicing, so I could show you the best ways to do it, I found a couple of snags, and so there is a little bit of a learning curve with these, but it's nothing that you can't do to make them come out looking really good. When I first started it, I thought I would just go ahead and squeeze the glue into the mold and it would work perfectly, but that's not really the case. I think, and well, this is just my opinion, it worked best for me to get a glue gun that has a fine nozzle. So that's my first suggestion, to get one that has a really small tip. I think a lot of people have these. I didn't, so I went out and bought a new one. And my next tip that I think is really important is that on the glue gun it says it's for, even just for the regular glue, to wait and let it heat up for about 5 minutes. And I found when I do that, the molds come out with a lot more definition. And one other tip before we get started that I wanted to share with you: don't do this. What I thought I might do is, after I got done filling up these molds, I was somewhat overfilling them, and so I thought I would take a credit card and just push the excess off to the edge, and that didn't work either. It ended up pulling it up a little bit. It would pull the whole mold up, and so then it wouldn't get into the grooves, and some of the detail would get lost on there. So that one doesn't look very good. I'm going to show you how to get it like this, and then you can cut out any extras, and so you can see that that one has a lot more definition. It's near perfect as opposed to this one. His little body's all messed up there. So I've actually had this heated for about 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes, so we're good to go. It's oozing out, and I want to show you, let's see, let's do one of the very intricate ones so that you can see how well it works with the fine tip. So I want this glue to get down there on the bottom first, because that's going to be the top of my resin piece, and that's where I want the most definition, obviously. So if you get the hottest glue down in there first, I find that it's more successful. And I don't want to overfill it, but I want to make sure that it's getting up there. And so what I found is that I need to pick it up and kind of see just how much more I need to put in there. And I think that's good enough. And I'm not sure if this makes a difference, but I like to do this, slap it down, and tap it on the bottom. And then it's somewhat serendipitous that we have two molds, because I found what works best is if you push the other mold, the flat side, on here and just hold it for a sec, you can get a flat back like this. So that's my big tip here, is to use this other mold. You can see how this one is somewhat curvy on the bottom. I didn't do that with that one, but this one completely flat. And I don't want to pull it up right away. I want to let this dry, because of course I practiced and I did that too, and I lifted it up right away, and what happened was I pulled the resin piece out and it wasn't ready. and then it ended up being a piece of junk. So I'm going to let that sit. The instructions say 10 minutes. If you live in a drier climate, it will not take that long. Like in Colorado, it's really dry. So typically 5 minutes and it's all the way done. But I think if you live in a more humid area, then that's going to take you a little while. So I'm going to let that sit, and I'll show you what it looks like. I want to tell you one other thing about my tips for this, is that what I wouldn't do, this is just my personal experience, other people may have different experiences, I wouldn't fill up this entire mold in one fell swoop and go through a whole one of these sticks in one sitting, because you really want this glue to be as hot as possible. Again, other people may have success just pumping it all out, but I did not. And that's good enough. Take this one off. Moment of truth here. Look at it in just a sec. Now I can put that to the side, and this is what it looked like. Really good definition. It has some stringy parts on there still. It's okay. I can just pull those off. And I think if you don't care about your manicure, and you can totally see that I don't, you can scratch off any little excess pieces. That's what I do. I just take them with my nail and pull them off. But it's kind of like an eraser consistency where you could rip it, so you kind of have to be careful. Even if they're a couple days, if they've been curing or whatever you want to call that for a couple of days, they can still rip. They're not going to get hard like glass. But you can also just take your craft knife and pull those out. So now that you have all of my tips and tricks on how to actually make those mod melts, I wanted to show you some different ways that you can color them. And I already did them beforehand because I'm pretty sure you know how to paint and to use glimmer mist and stuff. So in an effort to save time, I will show you some things. The first thing I will show you is, we got this in the tech kit this month, and this is Lindy's Stamp Gang Magical Micas Grab a Guy Gold. And so, and excuse my fingers, the glimmer mist got all over, and yeah. So this is what it looks like on the resin piece. It's somewhat dull. It's not very mica-ish, but it still looks cool. And the other thing that came in the kit was the Viva Inca Gold. We got two colors. One of them is gold, old gold. There's a difference. And the second one is the copper. So here's what the copper looks like, just buffed on with the sponge that comes in the kit. And that's not too hard to understand. You're just putting it a little bit on and pushing it on there. So that looks pretty cool. And what I wanted to do is to put some gesso on there to see if it would go on any differently. And it kind of did. And I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up, but the smaller one is still kind of shiny where the Inca Gold is not. So it's like a white sheen. This one is different, and it definitely has that shabby feel. It has like a worn white look, if that makes any sense to you. So the difference is slight, but I still like the one with the gesso better. And then I wanted to put some mist on there. So if you just spray the mist, it's not going to cover the whole part. It's just going to get into the grooves and make it somewhat shimmery. And then I used gesso and then sprayed the same one. So it depends on how, if you're going to put gesso or white paint. I think either one works just as well. And learn from my mistakes. I actually took a heat gun to these. I don't know why, I wasn't using my brain, but it will melt them back. So there's this little part right here that got messed up, but that's okay. They're just for practice anyway. And then everyone has a bunch of smooch. I don't see people using a lot of the smooch, so I wanted to see how that would look on there. It's great for fine details, so here's the difference. This is right here without gesso. It's very light, and you can still see the sheen of the resin piece. And this is what the same colors look like with gesso. So obviously the gesso is giving it something more to grab onto and not making it as sheen. And the last one I'm going to show you is my favorite. Is I use black gesso, and then I use the gold, the Inca gold on there. And I love that. That looks so classic. And I actually used this technique on the pieces that I'm doing to showcase these little pieces. And I'll just show you. It's an altered cigar box. And I used the bee. And I just did the black gesso, and then I very lightly used the gold. And I just tried to buff it onto the wings. And it did get a little bit on some of the body, and I think one of the legs, but it still looks pretty cool. I was totally happy with that. And it actually looks worn like the little cameo that comes in the main kit. And then I also used the fleur-de-lis border, and I did the same exact thing. And you can just see it's a beautiful accent piece to go on your projects. So you can paint them, you can do whatever you want with them, but those are just some ways that I think are cool. So I hope you are getting the tech kits. If not, you need to sign up because these are so awesome. These are going to be something that you can use with any mold that you have. As long as it's a silicone mold, you can use these Mod Melt resin sticks. So go ahead and check it out to see in the boutique if there's any more kits available. And thank you for watching. Be sure to go to swirlydoos.com and see what we have going on the forums, and check out our YouTube channel. We've got almost 200 videos, or we will probably in the next couple of months. We have lots of free tutorials for you, lots of scrapbook inspiration.